You're listening to Shoe In, covering the ins and outs of all things footwear, from sneakers to heels, loafers to slippers, and every type of shoe in between. Brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear.
Hey folks, welcome back to the Shoe In Show. Thanks for joining us today. Matt, it's crazy to think we've already passed almost 2 months of 2024 in full gear. The world keeps churning, keeps moving. Consumers are still buying, which is great because we assumed at the start there'd be like a larger bump across the board, but things are okay. I feel positive about 2024. What about you?
I do too. I think the consumer is resilient. Doesn't mean there's not some right sizing happening within the employee bases of our various companies.
True.
But the consumer confidence is high, and this whole notion of a soft landing is like the plane actually never landed. It aborted the landing and took off and started to take off.
They refueled in midair.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. So I'm feeling pretty good. And I don't know if our guest today will agree with that or maybe have a different take, but Karl Moehring, who is the CEO of Washington Shoe Company, has joined us today. Karl, thanks for coming on the Shoe In Show program. Before we kind of dive into kind of your view on the economics of the situation and what you guys are doing at Washington Shoe, talk to us about how you got to where you are, how you got in the industry. What's your shoe story as it relates to your journey to footwear?
Yeah, good morning, Matt and Andy. I appreciate the opportunity today. So I want to start with that. But my shoe story. Washington Shoe Company is a fourth generation family business. So I grew up around it, in it. My dad or my father basically restarted the business. He took it over from his father in 1990. And really, it was nothing but a name at that point. I grew up middle school, high school, that was our daycare center was, going to this small little office. It was a different childhood, but, then I went off to the university and I was like, this is in the late 90s in Seattle. So the tech world was king. So why would I want to go to the shoe business? So I was going to go work for Microsoft where, they're paying out big signing bonuses. But I was finishing up my degree and my father gave me a call, said, hey, we had somebody, that was running the general manager here and we caught him cooking the books. So we need someone we can trust.
Oh, man.
Come on in. And I said, hey, I told you I'm going to the tech world and, all right, I'll give you 6 months. And that 6 months turned into, this is my 23rd year here at Washington Shoe Company.
Wow. You're like the prodigal son who returned because the other dude was cooking the books.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, you can't do worse than the guy cooking the books. So.
That's true.
That's right. The bar is low. So let's walk through what's Washington Shoe, right? What are some of your brands? And we know them because we operate Fanny and you all always exhibit in space that we secure. And we love having you there and your team is just phenomenal. But what are some of your big brands? How would consumers and then others in the industry recognize the Washington Shoe Company?
Yeah. So Washington Shoe Company is like the flagship or that's the corporate name or of three brands that we're really known for. Western Chief is our largest brand. It's been around since 1891 and it's known for its fun, novelty, kids rain boots. The characters of Frog, Ladybug is what we really launched. But now, there's a plethora from anything licensed to all the characters and all the fun prints. But that's our biggest brand. And that's distributed at all levels of retail. You'll find us, at department stores, to club channel, to mass market, to independents, as well as our own direct-to-consumer websites. And then we have Stihikam, which is our outdoor brand that started out really as a slipper brand, but now evolved into a slipper outdoor brand that has a very passionate following. And then we have Chuka, which is our more sophisticated women's fashion line.
Awesome. And you guys are based just outside Seattle, is that right?
That's right. Founded originally downtown Seattle, and there's still a icon building down there. It says Washington Shoe Company, where the factory used to be. But yeah, we moved south over the years, and now we're just about 10 minutes south of Seattle in a town or a city called Renton.
Okay. Always interested in how footwear companies now with employees are dealing with remote work, return to work. How do you guys manage kind of kind of the modern the modern workforce, the workplace? And obviously, with footwear is always interesting because I feel like people are always traveling, right? You either got to go look at where the product's being made, or you got to go sell the product. So obviously, there's that built in. But how have you guys kind of navigated making sure your people are happy and healthy and productive?
Yeah, that's a real challenge, and it's something that we take seriously here. Culture is one of the biggest keystones here as a leadership team, and actually we kind of have it as one of our points that they actually get bonused out on is on a culture. So employee engagement surveys and stuff like that. But yeah, what we did, or we just moved into a new facility end of last year. Our landlord wanted to raise our rates 50%. We found a sublet here, and we haven't been happier. We spent 6 months remodeling the office space to make it like a Class A facility in a industrial warehouse. So we have 30-foot ceilings, exposed everything, modern lighting. But the reason we did that is we want there to be a pull to get people back into the office, not just hey, come back to the office and sit at a desk because you can do that at home. But hey, let's create collaboration spaces. Let's create, we call them living rooms. So it's areas where people are pulled to and they want to come to the office and they want to collaborate with their coworkers and other departments. They talk about the magic really isn't the meeting. It's that 5 minutes before and after where you have that side conversation. So we spent a lot of time and energy focusing getting people back here. We used to be 3 days a week is what we wanted of the staff in the office, but we moved that to 4 days a week. And then we set days that you can't, we need you in the office Monday and Wednesday. So those are kind of the foundation days that, hey, we know everyone's going to be here. You can have your big meetings you have to have reoccurring those days. And then, still give people the opportunity to flex 1 day a week to work from home. And it's been going very well.
That's interesting. I think a refresh helps, right? To me, just listening you talk about that, your ceilings and the like having a different space than where you had before COVID or during COVID. I mean, I think there's still some trauma that we're all going through, right? And so having a new place that you guys have, and I think that matters. I think more companies should think about that, right? Like, it's amazing what a fresh coat of paint can do, but especially when you're changing a whole scenery and a whole investing into a space that can provide that collaboration. I think that's great.
Yeah, I like the living room aspect, the collaborative aspect, Karl, because there's some reporting coming out of late that's doing studies on productivity on remote work versus non-remote. And let's face it, you can't, if you trust your employees, which we all do for the most part, they're productive at home and they're knocking things out and they're not having to commute, and there are aspects of it that are beneficial. But what they found in some of these studies, and they used a computer coding company where people were at their desks and they were kicking out more code than ever. They weren't mentoring. There was no kind of transfer of knowledge from one generation within the workforce to the next. That was all being lost. They were saving time not having to do that, but that transfer was not happening, which is so critical for footwear because of a legacy company like Washington Shoe. There's so many layers through history, but you're also trying to innovate. You have design products. So you're looking at product and trying to think about the design element and aspect to it. There's that. There's the customs compliance, which is like the non-sexy part of what we do, but is really complex and hard to figure out. So it sounds like you're in a creative way driving a culture that will maintain that mentorship and that collaboration, which is so critical.
Absolutely. And we're doing a lot of onboarding right now, hiring more people because we're expecting growth this year and into the future. So it's also that the onboarding is very difficult in a remote world for that. You don't have the mentorship. And for me, the word this year for our team is collaboration, because it really is getting back. And you mentioned customs compliance and stuff like that. If you're all working remote, only one person really has that direct knowledge. But now, hey, I want to learn more about how you guys classify a shoe. So a designer can go over there and hang out with that department or that person, and that's the synergy that we get by being back in the office.
Let's talk a little bit about product, because product's king in many ways. How as you guys look forward, and obviously one of the big things that we've seen is there's a big rebalance of inventory over the last 18 months. People feel better about where they are. The consumer has more money than we thought they were going to have. How do you see that kind of translating to, and I guess I should preface it too, that a lot of people are talking specifically about fresher product, right? Like in order to get the consumer back in the store, we're going to have to like just, change it up and add some freshness. How are you guys approaching keeping it fresh, and how are the relationships going with retailers right now? What are retailers telling you about the economic environment?
Yeah, for us, 23 was a challenge, so I'll start there. We took a step back. It's a resetting of the inventory. Retailers still were kind of working through it. We were working through it. This year, we're really excited because we're seeing a big rebound back. Our retail partners that we partner with, they appreciated that, so they're coming back and buying in. They're going after new product. And we've always pushed, or we've been pushing that our product, especially under Western Chief, is family valued. So it fits that consumer's pocketbook as they get squeezed. We hear about there's a big divergence right now in the economy. You got the people that, hey, if gas prices go up, it doesn't matter because their stock portfolio is going through the roof and they're happy.
Right.
But there's others that are living paycheck to paycheck that a little spike in the gas price that can be pretty devastating, or the grocery bill and whatnot. So we really cover that market very well by being family valued. So.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, you may or may not know this. We have an executive summit coming up in DC, April 17th and 18th. We'd love to have you and your senior leadership join us. But the theme is succeeding in the artificial age, right? How do we as companies navigate AI using kind of knowledge and wisdom, the historic things that bind us together, and information, by also making wise decisions with this technology? From what I understand, you guys are exploring ways in which you're using artificial intelligence in the generative space. So walk us through that. What's that look like for you on your end?
Yeah. So, I think it's my roots, and then being in the Northwest, Seattle, we have these tech, it's a cloud city. It's got Google. Everyone's here with Outpost. So when we saw, when we saw ChatGPT get launched in November of 22, I remember in January 23, I basically, we had a town hall meeting here, and I was telling the staff, like, have you guys seen this tool? Let me show you how I can write a story. And, I would say maybe 5% of our staff had seen it at that point. And from that point on, we've been pushing to the staff here, look at this as a tool. It's not a replacement of people. And don't rely on it that it's going to write something for you and you can just post it or do whatever. It's a tool that's going to help you get there faster, but you still have to draft it, right? Or it's creating a draft and you have to edit it. But we continually push our staff to, hey, explore it. Take a look every day because it's changing that fast. So, and that's in all divisions of our company. So the creatives, hey, this isn't going to replace our, print makers, but use it to inspire some of your prints. SEO copy, product copy. That's like the low hanging fruit, I feel like, in this space. But we're also looking at tools called they call them power automate tools, where if it's a frequent task that you do, these little bots can basically repeat it. And that allows our workers to do more value added stuff that they're really good at. We don't need that routine, mundane stuff to be done, by a person here. Let them do the, more creative or, more complex work. That's what we want them focused on. And then a longer term vision, we're even taking a step further. Amazon's really set the tone with automation and warehousing, but it's been, you have to be a huge company to be able to invest that way. But now it's trickling down where a company like our size, a small business, we can invest in something that takes some of those tools. So now you could build these basically in your warehouse, a cube structure that has little robots that go and pick like direct to consumer orders out of that. So it replaces the order picker, but I need now more scanners and shippers to verify what that robot's bringing them. But, as we're trying to compete with the Amazons of the world, you think about the wage increases, especially here in the coastal cities, let's say all in with benefits, someone makes $25 an hour. If they only pick 25 orders an hour, that's a dollar added to the cost of footwear that's going out. And, when we're doing the family valued product at $30 retail sometimes, that's a significant cost. So we're looking at that as our, we're doing some generative stuff now. We're constantly pushing that, but also, some of this warehouse automation stuff that's going to supplement our team. So we're more nimble, as we continue to compete.
That's very interesting. I think and if you're out there listening, I think this is the exact right approach to AI. It's not going to solve all the problems. The goal is for the technology and innovation is to chip away at inefficiencies, right? And then at some point, if you get really good at doing that and you get in the mental stream of innovation, then you can take advantage of a larger leaps when they come. My fear has always been for companies that don't do anything and they just expect that they're going to be able to jump in the stream and take advantage of a huge leap. I think you really have to, in some ways, struggle with the technology a little bit to figure it out, to learn how to use it effectively. And I've, even looking at things like Microsoft Copilot, which is starting to be folded into like basic Microsoft Office suites, where I saw where it was like it would take your PowerPoint and it would create a synopsis of your meeting notes automatically, right? So
Yeah.
when Microsoft talks about it, I really listen because they're folding it into things that we already use. But their point was something like 20% of our time is really effective and productive and executing. 80% of our time is gathering the resources for that 20%, meaning like grabbing a document, researching, learning, doing those things, which are important. And that's where AI can come in and kind of chip away at that 80% to get your 20% higher, more productive, more executing. And so I think it's very interesting what you guys are doing. How have the workforce there, have they jumped in with this? Are they curious? Are they excited about it, or is it kind of a little fear to it as well?
It's really each person or each individual has a different feeling towards it.
Yeah.
I say predominantly people are excited about it. But the real passionate ones, I'd say maybe 10% of the staff is really passionate about it. And they're like, hey, I saw this new thing. Let me share it. And that's what I'm trying to, instill here is make sure they're sharing with their coworkers. Because this is a tool that, we're going to look back on and be like, it was like when the internet launched, like AI is taken over in a positive way. I think Microsoft, if you think about Copilot, I think that's the perfect brand name for AI because that's what it is. It's a co-pilot. This isn't going to be the pilot.
Yeah, that's a great point. So, Carl, as we kind of close out, my last question for you from my end is, if you get to the end of the year and you look back on 2024 from a culture perspective, an operations perspective, and a sales perspective, what will success look like for you at Washington Shoe Company?
Yeah. Success at the end of this year, I'll be looking back that, we achieved the growth that we anticipated, which, it's a big rebound. We're anticipating a 35% growth this year. So it's significant.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. So that looking back at that, and then, the stability of our workforce here has been really stable. The tenure, is beats the industry. And I think it is because we are a family business and we think everyone is an extension of our family. But we're really building out our sales team to help, support this growth. So success looking back would be, building out that team a little bit more, continue to build the length of, term here because, we do consider one a family member here.
I'm guessing that means more folks at Fannie.
More folks at Fannie, yeah.
Oh, here we go. There we go. Before we drop off, I want to give you a big shout out for Wear a Big Smile. We look a lot at companies and what they're doing in the community. And on your website, folks can go take a look at this, but you guys are very active in the local community. They're supporting folks in need. As a Rotarian in my local community, I also work very closely with communities and folks in need here. And so when I see that, it gives me a big smile. So maybe you can quickly share what Wear a Big Smile is.
Absolutely. So Wear a Big Smile is the charitable arm of Washington Shoe Company. We launched it in 2015. My brother, Karl Moehring, he runs that. He's the president of it. And it's really about giving back to the communities that have served us over the years. So, we go into local elementaries and, support them with brand new free footwear. We go to shelters throughout the Puget Sound area. And annually we give back about 5,000 pair on average.
Wow.
It's been a great thing, for us to give back to the community. It's also something that, our employees like to participate as well. So we give them volunteer time towards that. It's just a great initiative.
Really
That's
cool.
Awesome.
Very cool.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations on that. I know that's, it's fun to work in footwear. It's better when there's a purpose behind it as well. So
yeah,
kudos on that, and your new space that you guys are out of, and
you'll have to
and
come
with
visit.
the AI, with the AI stuff too. It's fascinating. 130-year-old company innovating at light speed in a new space.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Congrats to you guys.
Appreciate it.
All right, folks, this is Shoe and Show. Thank you for listening as always. Shoeandshow.com has our full catalog. We always offer this out. If you're interested in coming on Shoe and Show, drop us a line. If you have ideas for guests that you want us to interview and you want to hear from, drop us a line for that too. We try to democratize this podcast so that we can help folks in the industry share their shoe stories, hear other stories, hear what people are doing, and hopefully strengthen the industry and do things just a little bit better. We appreciate you listening, and until next time, Shoe-In is out.
Shoe-In has been brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. For information about FDRA, visit fdra.org.